I met a gypsy.
Well, it's an anemia medication for stuff. You can take it in the syringe, but I never did.
Yeah.
I never did. And I was taking still the small little bit of testosterone, and who knows if it was even the real stuff.
Yeah.
But it felt like it was the real stuff.
Yeah, I'm sure that's the kind of thing where you could tell. Like, you've been training your whole life.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
like, you
I
know
mean,
it works.
I definitely got big on it, and then.
Yeah, also that much weight. Yeah, that's a lot.
Yeah, it's just not going to happen naturally. You know, I could eat whatever. But then my first race back with that stuff, I qualified inside the top 10, which has never happened to me before.
Where was that at?
God, was it Kansas City in arena cross? And I was doing really good. You know, my dad wasn't there, and it was a bad deal. And I was like, this stuff works. I'm going to continue to do this stuff. And then I had the issue where I had a quick throttle where it's like a half throttle to a half turn. And I tightened it too tight, so it was kind of sticking. And I had a crash in the whoops during not qualifying, but during the first heat race. And it was then the lights were coming up for the next one. And I didn't realize that because I crashed, it pushed it in a little bit even too farther. So it was locking on me. And I remember hitting the throttle to rev the bike, because you're not allowed to start the bike for a while until, you know, the 30-second board or whatever. And my wife was my mechanic at the time, and I grabbed the throttle, and it was like, and then I had to manually turn it down, and my wife was like, don't do this. And I'm like, babe, I'm not going to miss this race. Like, it'll be fine. And maybe that was the extra testosterone talking. I don't know, you know, but I ended up missing a whoop. Just front wheel dropped over, then kicked, and because it was because I was already fourth gear into the whoops, so I was already wide open, and so when it kicked me, my hand fell off the bars, and so I was just riding the bike into the wall,
wide open.
And so at that point, I just tried falling off the bike. So I did a lazy boy, and then, you know, my leg hit the wall with the bike, and then that's when it shattered my leg, and the rest is kind of history.
That's fucking crazy.
And dude, I that created this whole process. Like, again, I'm not a super religious person, but at that point, as I was hitting the wall, I was like, Dad, if fucking God is real, can you pull some strings? Like, I'm done.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna enjoy my life with my wife. I want to have kids, and I want to move past all this stuff, because this is just, it's too much burden. You know, like I'm done. And I never thought I'd be done racing bikes, because
that was your whole life.
I thought I'd be I thought I'd be Mike Brown, going to Loretta or whatever and being 50s and still enjoying it.
Yeah.
You know, but again, whether it was destiny or what, had other plans for me. So hit the wall, look up, and I'm like, I'm still alive. Still alive. I remember Travis Sewell, he was telling me, he's like, dude, you shook the stadium. And I was like, and I was yelling. My wife was the first one there before the paramedics and everything, which was crazy, because like when I went, the whoops were set up to the little opening where they have all the heavy equipment, and where like you enter the track. And so the part of the concrete wall that I hit was right next to the giant skid steer. And so if I would have hit anything in that, I probably would have been way more mangled than what I was. So I got really lucky, spent a month in the ICU, and then kind of the rest is, there's a lot of stuff that happened in there, but it doesn't really matter. Again, my whole point is now to just try to help people do something different and educate the guys coming up how to do it a little bit differently, and have some fun making some content too. You know, but do I recommend people do drugs? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Is it an advantage? Oh, F and A, it's an advantage. But if I'm being honest, I would have done it much earlier in my career. Not because I wasn't good enough was the thing. It was a last resort to try to answer questions inside my head. Yeah. And so I was doing it for the wrong reasons, right?
As someone that's done it, do you think you can see people racing right now that are doing it?
Yes.
Because you just fucking know. Like, if you've done it before,
but I think
you just know.
It's a less number than what we think, because
You think?
I think talent has a lot to do with
100%.
a lot of guys.
Yeah.
But I think part of the deal is because there's such a pay gap, right?
Yeah.
And so if you could just put that much extra, it's the whole compound effect.
Mm-hmm.
If you could put more work in, eventually there's going to be a gap that widens. Like if you could do if you could ride 5 hours more a week because your body could sustain that deal, it might not happen next weekend, but in 1 or 2 years, you now have ridden and trained
hundreds and hundreds of hours more.
It's accumulative to 3 to like, this is the whole reason as to why the MXGP guys are now better than the American guys at Moto.
Yeah.
It's because half the year we're focusing on Supercross where they're focusing on just hammering outdoors. Like it's just simple math that they're going to be better because they are more proficient at that craft.
And they've just spent more time compounding.
And drugs enable, it's the last bit of the equation. We're talking like a 1 to maybe 5% gain there. But when you're talking about the best in the world, is it willing to do that? I mean, there's been so many stories.
And then the problem is when you're in the pits and then you hear like, oh, dude, he's doing this and he's doing good. And then you're like, you almost don't think it's as cheating as what it is when other people are doing it.
It's now the baseline is
And that's what happened in
par.
cycling.
Mm-hmm.
You couldn't be competitive if you didn't do it. But yeah, so do you reckon there's many dudes doing it?
I think there'd be more guys than what you think about doing it. I don't think there's the guys that everyone is pointing fingers at doing.
Yeah.
I don't think that's there.
Yeah.
I think it's more susceptible to guys coming up. And truthfully, like there's no testing in the sport, if I'm being honest. And that's just kind of the lack of money.
Yeah.
But
because it's like $8,000 a test.
You see,
for
I
like
didn't
a base level, like a USADA type of test. Like, so if you test one dude, it's $8,000. So what's that? If you're testing the top 5, $40,000 around.
Yeah.
So it's like realistically.
Well, and okay.
They wouldn't be doing trend though. They'd be doing peptides, HGH, possibly EPO, I reckon.
Yeah, no. And it would be more of an off-season deal if they were trying to gain weight, right? And so that's why I do think you should be bigger to ride a 450 as you need to be stronger.
For sure, we're seeing that now play out.
Yeah, well, I mean, you've said it on your podcast before that you're seeing more of these guys looking more like football players.
Yeah, but I know too, like that's not to accuse anyone though. And it's like weird because when you have these conversations, like people always want to kind of put in their head like,
yeah,
who's the accusing?
I've got
I
DMs from teams on stuff,
really?
Right? But I can't.
Yeah, you're not going to.
I'm not going to ruin anyone's career on stuff.
Yeah,
like
which is the move.
And truthfully, I don't even know if it's true.
Yeah,
give me a positive test for it to be true. Just because there's some accusations out there, like because a lot of people sometimes they want to come to me and because they think I'm going to just throw it on the internet and do that stuff. Because and truthfully.
It's the same shit I get all the time.
Yeah,
I'm just like, bro, I don't give a fuck. Honestly, I ain't saying that.
I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No.
But it's such a big topic because like I was the first guy to kind of start coming out with stuff like that. But I didn't have anything to lose, right? Yeah. Because it was already gone.
That's such a good point, bro.
Yeah, I had, and so.
I used to think about I think about the reckless shit I used to say. And it's like, yeah, but there was a time when you had 30,000 people on a fucking download, not 1 million people. You know what I mean? Like the gravity changes once you start to have more influence. Like your words end up carrying more weight, and you eventually have to start taking shit more serious. I take shit way more serious now than I used to because back then, who the fuck was?
Well, you have to because now you have a responsibility.
Yeah, 100%.
Right, and I know from being treated poorly on the internet, the last thing I want to do is have somebody feel anxiety, feel all the stress, feel the sadness and stuff because of words that I said, right? That's the last thing I want. Even if it's somebody I don't like, I don't want that for them. Like that's awful. That's awful to look at these darn comments and then have them kind of eat you, you know? Fuck that, right? So like I've made a conscious decision. No, that is not the person I want to be. No, that is not how I want to be perceived. And fuck, if I don't get as many views or blah, 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 because I'm not leaking this information, I can go to bed at night because for me, success is not about how much money or followers or whatnot or what craziness that I've caused, because there's been some dumb stuff that, anyway, that is whatever. I just want to feel good inside, and I want to feel like I'm doing a good job with the content that I'm creating. And so that's why I'm not going to accuse anyone of stuff. But to answer your question, oh, fucking A, yeah. I think it happens more with guys you wouldn't expect. And then maybe, you know, who knows what's going on there, because there's a lot of gray area that could happen with racing, because there's not the level of testing that you would like, maybe at some point, right? Because it comes back to that same deal. You cannot change when you're not aware, but then once you become aware, you cannot help but change. And, you know, maybe when one of these guys retire, maybe, and they don't sign an NDA that says they have to give back all the money if something whatever, then maybe. If not, I'm not worried about it, because I don't want to affect their livelihood, and who cares if my name goes through the mud. I did it for one race. Would I do it again? Yes. Would I've done it a long time ago? Yes. But that was just because I wasn't good enough, and I needed help.
No, it's fine. It's super interesting. I mean, dude, for me, like, I literally can't do as much jiu-jitsu as I want to do now because of my body. That's it. I do not recover. Like, I go and I train, and it's so fucking gnarly. It's so hard on my body. I can barely get enough liquid in because I sweat so much when I do it. So it's like just an hour of just fucking pouring sweat, right? And then then you burn thousands of calories. Like I'm talking like 15 to 2,000 calories per session. And so you have a day then. I do about 1,600 calories non-active a day. And then you add 2,000 on top of that. So now you've done 36, 100 calories for the day. All of the twisting. Well,
that's a pound.
Literally, dude. So it's like then all of the force on your joints and your back and your fucking neck, and I'm rinsed. So like I literally, when I first started, I used to be able to train. I got to a point physically where I could train 5-6 days a week, and I would do sometimes 2 times a day. And then I literally just got to a point now I just can't do it. Like the base that I would have to build up would be insane. And I just physically, like now I'm at a level too. Like when you first start out, you're not at a very high level. So like the intensity's not there, but then you get higher and higher. It's like riding a bike where it's like you can't go as fast as your mind will kind of, it's the same sort of thing. But yeah, I think, and openly so many fucking dudes are doing steroids in jiu-jitsu, like at every level, every gym, everyone is doing it. So then you're a natural dude that's going against guys that
it's like a health
natural.
Clinic now with stuff.
Yeah, it's crazy, dude.
And there's lots of TUDs and stuff that you could get. Therapeutic youth exemption.
Oh yeah.
That guys can do at the professional level.
Yeah.
Dude, it's substances help out so much, and they don't even have to be steroids.
Yeah. Well, I think peptides are like the big thing in the moment. Yeah. Everyone's pretty into peptides.
It's been a while since have you ever heard of SARMs?
Yeah. That's a peptide basically.
Selectric angelin modular receptor stuff.
Yeah. Apparently they work pretty good too.
Well,
but I think peptides has kind of replaced them.
You don't need like a post-cycle therapy with that stuff.
Yeah.
Where you don't have to really worry about your whole stuff tanking.
Yeah. Did you have any of that, or you did it all pretty good?
I got nervous once, and I ended up taking too much of the estrogen blockers and the HCG. I think that's what it's called. And my mood I was super depressed.
Yeah.
And it had to have been because I just put too much estrogen in my body.
Yeah, just being a bitch.
Yeah, just total. Like, just butterflies, and I'll just, like, crying.
Yeah, it's so fucking beautiful, man.
No, but, I mean, it would have been way better if I had, like, a team with me that knew what the fuck they were doing.
Yeah.
Where it was just, like, I was trusting the hands of somebody that I had a couple calls with. Like that was the most nerve-wracking thing but if I had the proper help, dude, game changer. Same thing with with the programs and everything. Like, that's why I don't believe that a lot of the riders at today, yeah, everyone is incredibly talented, but just like you were saying, there's a lot to do with luck. There's a reason why, if you go back 10, 15 years in Loretta Lynn, that all the factory guys were pretty much all on the starting grid right then, you know, with the few exceptions there. Like, they've been riding this much. You couldn't help but be better.
We're excited to announce the launch of our new membership site, gypsytales.com, packed with exclusive content and perks that you won't find anywhere else. This is your chance to become a part of the Gypsy Gang. And as a special bonus, if you sign up to an annual membership, you'll be entered into the draw to win our custom-built TC125. Gypsy Gang.